Hello? Today we want to review some problems that you
Hope
see
you're
on
having
the
a good
upcoming
weekend.
I-STEP test.
If this lesson starts your weekend, then I hope
Concerning
the rest of the
volume and
weekend is
surface
great.
area of
This
three-dimensional
lesson is
figures.
at the end of the
I've
weekend,
numbered
but I
each
hope you had a
question
good weekend
in case you
already.
need to fast forward or
I
rewind.
would like to go over 4 problems with you.
Let's start with
The ALEKS
question number
assignment
1.
of volume and surface area.
At the
I
part,
put a
there is a
screen
pool
with a
shaped
large
like a
number
circle with
in
diameter
between
of
each
24
problem.
yards.
In case you need to
A
rewind or
ring-shaped
fast
path
forward
goes around
to
the
the
pool.
appropriate problem.
Its width is 6 yards.
Let's start.
We are going to give a new
We're gonna
layer
find
of
the
coating to
volume
the path. If 1 gallon of coating
Of a
can cover
rectangular
8 square
prism.
yards, how many
Let's look
gallons
at
of
the
coating
reference
do we
sheet.
need? Note that the
Formula will
coating
be
comes
length
only by the
times
gallons, so
width
the number of gallons
times
must be
height.
a whole number. We will use the value of 3.14 for pi.
We'll call this
We have a
edge
circle on the inside
the
and
length.
an overall larger
And
circle
we'll write
for the
that. The
pool.
length is 3 centimeters.
First,
We'll
let's
call this
compute
edge
the area
the width,
of the larger circle.
and that will be 4
Area
centimeters.
formula is pi
Try to
r
work the problem out
squared.
of the space to the right.
Notice
So I'll label this side the height,
that on each
and the height
side
is 2
of
centimeters.
the inside circle, there is an extra 6 yards,
Volume is length times
which means
width
that the
times height.
diameter of the
length
larger
is
circle
3,
is
the width is 4,
6, plus
height
the
is
diameter
2.
of the smaller circle, 24, plus
3
another ring,
times
that's
4
6
is
yards.
12, 12 times 2 is 24.
The
volume
diameter then is 36
centimeters,
yards.
and we're talking about
We'll need the
24
radius for the area
centimeters
formula.
cubed.
And the radius can be found by dividing the diameter by 2.
Question number
Our
2.
radius then is 18 yards.
We're going to find surface area,
So,
but
we'll
notice
substitute
there
3.14
is
for
a 1
pi.
by 3
Again, this is our
section
largest
missing
circle,
in this
and the radius of the
rectangular
largest
prism.
circle is 18.
Surface area formula is 2 times the length times
We'll
the
compute
width
this
plus
area.
2 times the height times the width
18
plus 2 times the length times the height.
times 18
Again, what I'm pointing out here,
times the approximation of pi
let's assume that it is a regular
gives
shape.
us an area for the larger circle
Let's find the
of
dimensions of the regular shape,
1,017.36.
and then we will figure out what parts
Recall
to
the
remove
diameter of the smaller circle.
to get the surface
24
area
yards.
of this irregular shape. So
We'll need the
building
radius. The
blocks
radius
to
again
make
can
it
be
a
found
regular
by
shape.
dividing the diameter by 2.
This
We'll
is
use a
in
radius of
inches.
12 yards for the smaller circle.
We'll say the length is 3
We'll
inches.
use 3.14 for pi.
We'll say the
The
width
radius is 12.
is 5 inches, remember, and we'll say
We'll
the
need to
height
square 12
is
first
4
by
inches.
the order of operations using PEMDAS. 12
Width
times 12 is 144 times the approximation of pi, 3.14.
Length is
The
3.
area of the smaller
Width is
circle,
5.
452 and 1600.
Width is 5.
To find the area of the
The length
path,
is 3. And the height is 4.
we'll take the
2
area of the
times 3
larger
is
circle.
6. 6 times 5 is 30.
We'll
2 times
subtract the
4 is
area
8.
of the circle
8 times 5
inside.
is 40. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is
Use a
24.
calculator to make sure the computations are correct.
So you can follow along where I'm at. 30 plus 40 plus 24 gives us a surface area of 94 inches. So back to the illustration.
Area of our
I
path,
computed the regular shape,
565.2 yards squared.
and now I have to consider that
I
there
edited
is a 1 by 3,
The second attempt with the calculator.
1 by 3 by 3 section that's been cut out to make an irregular.
Now that the area has been computed, we know
So the
1
top
gallon can cover
will
8
stay.
square yards.
If I float this piece down,
I'll
I'm
divide
still
our area
counting
by
the top. And if I float the piece, I'm still counting the front edge. The part that gets removed
We get an answer
are these two
of
spaces on the side
65/100ths.
for a total
We'll round
area
this to the
1 by
next
3
gallon.
plus 1 by
We'll need to
3.
purchase 71 gallons to coat our path.
I'll clone this section. So I've removed the sides.
Question number 2.
The sides which have a dimension of 1
The
by
swimming
3
pool
and 1 by 3.
Has to be drained
This
for
area
maintenance.
is
The pool is
3.
shaped like a cylinder
This
with a
area
diameter
is
of 9
3.
meters and a
I'm going
depth
to
of
remove
1.9
6
meters.
inches
If the water
from the
is pumped
surface
out of the
area
pool at the
to
rate
arrive
of
at
15
the
cubic
answer,
meters per hour, how many hours does it take to
inches
empty the
cubed.
pool?
Now,
Use 3.14 for
I
pi.
suppose an
and
alternate
round your
method
answer to the nearest hour.
would be to compute the
diameter
surface
is
area
9.
of the top and then add that to the
The
surface
depth or
area
height
of
is
the bottom.
1.9, and then remove the overlap. The volume formula is pi r squared h.
This length is 3.
Again, we're given the
This
diameter.
width is 2.
To
This
find
height
the
is
radius,
1.
we'll divide that
2
by
times 3
2. We'll
times
use the
2
radius of 4.5.
plus 2 times 3
Let's substitute into the
times
volume
1
formula.
plus 2
We'll use 3.14 for
times
pi.
3 times 1.
Radius is 4.5. And the
2
height
times 3 is 6. 6
1.9.
times 2 is
Don't
12.
forget the order
2
of
times 3 is
operations.
6. 2
We'll
times
need
3
to
is
square
6.
4.5
The
first.
surface area of the top
4.5 times 4.5.
is 24.
We can
We'll
multiply
talk
either
about the
number.
overlap in a second.
Next, we'll multiply by the approximation of
The
pi.
bottom dimensions
Next,
are 3
we'll
for the
multiply
length,
the height,
5 for the width,
the volume of our swimming pool,
and 3
120
for the height.
8.115. The water is pumped out at a rate of 15 cubic meters per hour.
Well, what
So we'll
if
take the
we
volume
consider the top
and divide by the rate?
prism separately from the bottom prism? The dimensions of the top, the length would be 3.
Recall that rate
The length
is
is 3.
15.
The width is 2. So the length is 3. And the width is
Compute
2.
the rate now by dividing
And the height
by
is
15.
1. So as we begin to use the formula, 2 times the length around this
to the nearest
hour times the width, plus 2 times
It will take us 8 hours
the length
to drain the pool. Question number 3.
This irregular shape is such an interesting problem. Let's look
Find
at
the
one
volume
more
of the
solution.
rectangular prism.
Let's
V stands
consider
for
the top
volume.
prism
We'll
surface
label
area, and
this
then let's consider
dimension
the
as
bottom
length. We'll label this
prism
dimension
surface area.
as the
So
width.
if we drew a line
We'll
here
label this dimension as the
and
height.
remove the top, the length would be 3, the width would
So
be
the
2,
length is 5, the width is
and the
5.
height would be 1.
The height
But before we substitute
5.
into the formula,
5 times 5 is
one
25.
of the measurements
25
is not necessary,
times 5
as the
is
shapes are
125
stacked on
yards.
top of each other.
and the label is cubed.
When we consider the length
125
and the
yards.
width,
Number 4.
one of the length and
Find the
width
surface area
measurements,
of this rectangular
like the
prism.
bottom of the
The
shape,
surface area formula is given here.
we have covered up
Let's
the
call
bottom,
the height,
which
4
means we
inches.
won't need to double the
Let's
length
call
and
the
width.
length 7 inches.
We will only
Let's
need the
call the
top
width
3 times
2
2.
inches. We'll substitute into the formula
Then we'll need
2
the front
LW
and back,
plus 2HW
and there are two
plus 2LH.
sides. Then
The length is 7,
the last
the
dimension
width is 2. The height height is 4.
are the very
The
size.
width is 2. Lastly,
So
the
here's
length
the
is
top.
7.
We don't need the bottom.
And the height is
There's the
4.
front and back. There's the sides.
Let's crunch these numbers. 2 times 2 is 4.
The surface area of the
4
top
times
with the
7 is
bottom
28.
removed
2 times 2 is 4.
is 16
4 times
inches.
4 is 16.
So when we
2
consider the
times 4 is
bottom,
8. 8 times
shape,
7 is 56.
the
So
length
we'll
is
add
3,
the 3 numbers.
the width is
For the
5,
sake of time, 28
and the height is 3.
plus 16 plus 56 gives us a surface area of 100 inches.
Okay, on to question 3. Find the volume of the rectangular prism. Volume formula, length times width times height. This is a cube. The length is 5, the width is 5, and the height is 5. The computations, 5 times 5 times 5 gives us a volume of 125 cubic yards. And question 4. Find the surface area of this rectangular prism. The formula, surface area is 2 times the length times the width, plus 2 times the height times the width, plus 2 times the length times the height. So we'll say the height here equals 4, length equals 7, and the width is 2. So let's begin substituting. The length is 7, the width is 2. The height is 4, the width is 2, the length is 7, and the height is 4. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 7 is 28, 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 2 times 7 is 14, and 14 times 4 is 56. So you can follow along. 28 plus 16 plus 56. The volume is 100 inches cubed.